So interestingly, there's been a debate lately among the pro-Palestine movement about whether Israel is fundamentally motivated by Jewish supremacy or by white supremacy. Or essentially, like there's various variations of this question, like, is Israel fundamentally controlling the United States, or is the United States fundamentally controlling Israel? Is Israeli power fundamentally an expression of Jewish supremacy or of Western supremacy? And I think when looking at the actual situation on the ground, it becomes very obvious what the situation really is. Because when you look at Israel, Israel doesn't just discriminate against Palestinians, it discriminates against Christians of all backgrounds too. Because recently, within the old city of Jerusalem, there's been ethnic cleansing of Christians. Christians who've had a presence in the historic old city of Jerusalem for millennia are being pushed out because of Jewish supremacists. They're being bullied, vandalized, attacked, and harassed, not by Muslims, but by Jews. They are being systemically pushed out of the old city of Jerusalem. And there's been numerous articles on this recently, and I will link to it so you know that I'm not just making this up. Because some people, they'll accuse me of just making stuff up. It's like, okay, fine. I mean, this is not difficult information to find, but I will provide links to it. Like, this is happening, and it's increasing lately. And it's like, how can you call Israel, like, white supremacist or Western supremacist when white Christians are being targeted? Well, Christians in general, not just white Christians. But my point is, if Israel really was an expression of white supremacy or Western supremacy, then why is it so hostile toward Christians? Like, why is this happening in Israel and the Israeli state is basically turning a blind eye to it? Like, they're basically complicit because they're not doing anything to really stop it. Like, they're not punishing the perpetrators harshly enough. They're turning a blind eye to it. This is obviously happening with the approval, the implicit approval of the Israeli government, because they're not really doing anything. They're not cracking down on it like they would be if it was Muslims persecuting Jews. So it's obviously like, I mean, when you look at Israel, the country is Jewish supremacist in every possible way. And people argue like, yeah, okay, Israel's Jewish supremacist, but they're pawns of the US. It's like, okay, if there's, I think the relationship is mutual to some extent. But at the same time, like when you look at the overrepresentation of Jews and also like Israeli advocacy organizations like AIPAC and the ADL within the US, like it's obvious that Israel itself is extremely disproportionately powerful. And frankly, I also question from the standpoint of like Americanism, does supporting Israel so aggressively even benefit them? Because if anything, that has turned much of the world against the US, and the US might actually have more favor with the rest of the world if it wasn't supporting Israel so aggressively. Like this whole only democracy in the Middle East, how exactly does that help them? Because like if they actually want the whole world to become liberal democracies, how is Israel really helping them? Because it's not like they're influencing the surrounding countries. If anything, the surrounding countries largely dislike Israel, and they might be more likely to embrace a more liberal democratic system if not for Israel being there. Like, it's not like Israel's inspiring other countries around it to just embrace liberal democracy. Like, it's not that there's not much cross-pollination of ideas. Like, the majority of the populations in the surrounding countries massively resent Israel. And yeah, sure, there's some deals that they've brokered with the governments of these nations, but nonetheless, I just don't think Israel's presence in the region is actually encouraging liberalization. If anything, it's decreasing it by creating an opposition to it. And again, I'm not saying liberalization, like I'm not saying that like I support Americanism. I'm not saying that like I think the whole world should try to imitate the US. I'm saying if that's America's goal, like from the standpoint of an Americanist who's not Jewish and whose goal is not Jewish supremacy, and their goal is simply to spread quote unquote American values, I question how supporting Israel helps them with that. If anything, it probably hinders them quite a bit by making the US and by extension American ideas unpopular with the entire Muslim world, the entire Middle Eastern region. Not to mention many non-Muslim people also, like many people across the third world relate to the Palestinians. They see the Palestinians as kindred spirits with them. So again, like this isn't really helping America. And it's not really spreading their ideology. And again, I think like Americanism as a whole, like I don't agree with it and I don't support it, but I'm saying from their perspective, this isn't helping them. So, I mean, I don't know. Like, I do think that Americanism is an issue aside from just Jewish supremacy. I'll agree insofar as that, because there's some people who are like such Jewish reductionists that they will say the entire issue is Jewish supremacy and that Americanism isn't a problem outside of Jewish supremacy. And I disagree. I think Americanism in and of itself, even independent from Jewish supremacy, still is an issue in many ways. Like in many, like for instance, cultural Americanism. Like I don't think it's Jews forcing, Americans to push McDonald's and SUVs on the entire globe. I think a lot of that is just Americans of various backgrounds in the corporate elite. And again, like these industries aren't necessarily as Jewish dominated as certain other industries. Like if you look at fast food or automotive, I'm sure there's Jews at high levels. There always are. But these industries are not like totally Jewish dominated to the extent of like banking or Hollywood or even like big tech. It's not even close. But what I'm saying is, okay, like there's problems that America causes that aren't specifically caused by Jewish supremacy or by Jews specifically. I will agree with that. But in the case of Israel, I do think like Jewish supremacy is the prime motivation. Like I think all the other groups who support Israel are being manipulated by the Jewish supremacists and not the other way around. Like I think ultimately the evangelicals, the Goy neocons, the people who really, really hate Muslims they're all being manipulated by Zionism, not the other way around. And again, if they were manipulating Zionists, then why is it that they're okay with the mistreatment of Christians, the ethnic cleansing of Christians from the historic old city of Jerusalem, which is a very historic and important place to Christianity? Like for Christians, this should be a really big deal. And yet I don't hear anything about it. And it's because so many of these people are being manipulated by Zionists. They're letting the Zionists control them. And it's not the other way around. Like, as I've said, I will agree that Jews are not solely responsible for every bad thing the United States does, or that Western countries do. I will agree with that. There are certain bad things they do that aren't specifically related to Jews. But insofar as Israel is concerned, it is predominantly, like overwhelmingly motivated by Jewish interests above all others, above Christian interests, above Americanist interests, above any kind of secular interests or anything else. It is predominantly Jewish ethnic interests that motivate American and Western support for Israel. And furthermore, to say that Israel's a white supremacist country, it's kind of bullshit because, okay, there are a lot of non-white Jews in Israel, and a non-white Jew in Israel still has status and privilege over a white Christian. Like the Christians being ethnically cleansed in the old city of Jerusalem includes Greek Christians. It includes, Catholics and Orthodox, and maybe even a few Protestants. Like it does include some white Christians. Like there is a white Christian presence in the old city of Jerusalem, representing various denominations of churches. And these are among the Christians being ethnically cleansed. Not solely, because some of them are Middle Eastern Christians or Christians from other parts of the world. But I'm saying it does include white Christians. And the people evicting them, harassing them, are Jews of various ancestries, including Middle Eastern Jews, including brown Jews. I don't know how many black Ethiopian Jews are involved, but I'm pretty damn sure it would involve, at very least, Sephardic and Mizrahi Jews, as well as Ashkenazi. Like, in the hierarchy of privilege in Israel, Sephardic and Mizrahi Jews are definitely above white Christians or any Christians. It's not even close. I don't know how Ethiopian Jews would rank compared to white Christians, but it doesn't really matter that much, because ultimately, like, Israel is ultimately about Jewish supremacy. Even if Ethiopian Jews are at the bottom of the totem pole, it doesn't change that fact. Like, bottom of the totem pole for Jews. I guarantee Ethiopian Jews would still be way above Palestinians, way above Arab Muslims, that's for sure. They'd probably be above white Christians, but I'm just saying, I would guess probably yes. But definitely Sephardic and Mizrahi Jews. That's not even a question. And like, in Israel lately, there has been increased mixing between Ashkenazi Jews and Sephardic and Mizrahi Jews. Like, the distinction is starting to break down a bit. And yes, there is a certain amount of Ashkenazi privilege in Israel, because like all of their heads of state have been Ashkenazi. And there's definitely like disproportionate overrepresentation of Ashkenazis relative to other Jews at the high levels of power in Israel. Again, Ashkenazis are the ones with the super high IQ. So it kind of makes sense that they're the ones who are dominating things. But I mean, yeah, okay, there is a certain amount of Ashkenazi privilege, but my thing is, so what? That privilege does not extend to European Christians, okay? If you want to consider, I mean, Ashkenazis, like, yes, they have white skin. There are a Caucasoid people with white skin, but again, like, the Nazis did not consider them white. Historically, they were not considered white by many people. Again, like, they're white when they want to be, when it's convenient for them, and then they're non-white when that's convenient for them. So it's like, yeah, I will agree there's a certain amount of Ashkenazi privilege in Israel, but that doesn't really, like, A, yes, there is, but B, Sephardic and Mizrahi Jews still have privilege over non-Jews in Israel, even if Ashkenazis are at the very top of the totem pole. And also, that does not translate into white privilege in the broader sense of the word. Like, if you're like a German Christian or a Greek Christian or an Italian Christian or a French Christian or what have you, that Ashkenazi privilege and $5 will get you a cup of Starbucks coffee. Like, it doesn't benefit you. It's not for you. It's a form of, yeah, if you want to call it white privilege, like, yeah, white-skinned Jewish privilege, absolutely. But if you're not Jewish, you're not going to get any benefit out of that, so it doesn't matter. I mean, Israel sure as hell didn't have any qualms with destroying Christian churches in Gaza and killing Christians there. They don't have any problem with killing Christian Palestinians. And I mean, yeah, I mean, if you look at the hierarchy of privilege in Israel overall, it basically goes like Ashkenazi Jews, then Sephardic and Mizrahi Jews, then Ethiopian Jews, then I suppose, I don't know, Arab Israeli Christians, and maybe, no, I guess then it would be like, I don't know, non-Arab Christians, maybe, then Arab Israeli Christians, then Arab Israeli Muslims, then I guess Palestinians would be just at the bottom. But my point is, Jews are always above non-Jews. Like, I mean, and especially Ashkenazi, Sephardic, and Mizrahi Jews. Like, I don't know what type of Jews the Ethiopian Jews are considered. Are they considered within the Sephardic or Mizrahi, or are they their own separate thing? I don't know. But my point is, okay, like, there is Jewish privilege in Israel above non-Jews. It's a Jewish supremacist state. It's not a white or Western supremacist state. And to call it that it's deflection. It's a lie. And again, like, to say that Western, like, white, like again, they keep confusing. Like, they'll say with one breath, it's like, oh, Israel's a white supremacist country that's motivated by white supremacy. But then they'll also say it's motivated by Americanism, as if Americanism and white supremacy in this day and age are the same thing. Like, Americanism is fundamentally it's a it's a non-racial ideology about capitalism and liberalism and democracy. Like the only color they care about is green, the green of the money. Definitely not the green of the environment. But my point is, Americanism is not a white supremacist or white nationalist ideology. Not anymore. Like, yeah, there's white nationalist Americanists, but it's not inherently a white nationalist ideology. And secondly, Americanism is not the driving force behind Israel. The driving force behind Israel is Jewish supremacy. I mean, again, I will agree that there are problems that are linked to Americanism and American world dominance that aren't specifically caused by Jews or by Zionism or by Jewish supremacy. I will agree with that. But in this particular case, the case of Israel, that is the cause.